Why did my Christmas gift of a cheese board crack? Find out here. Hi, Jim Vanderscaff. Welcome to my shop. Question for today is, why did my Christmas cheese cutting boards crack? Or I should say cheese cutting board. And what do I mean by that? Well, these are the cheese boards, and you can see the one in my right hand has got a bit of a crack in it. So that's not good, and so we got to fix that somehow. But let's think about why it happened. When I gave these to my daughters for Christmas presents, and I made little cutting knives. I started out with a piece of wood like that as the template, and then added different colors of woods, different types of woods. This is tiger maple, walnut, cherry. And then just took it to right over here. And when those pieces were all glued together, I just sanded down on this belt sander and created that. Makes a nice little sharp edge. Obviously it's not as sharp as a knife, but it's good enough to cut cheese. So let's apply a little forensic woodworking to this problem. When my daughter showed me this one, and my youngest daughter said, "Well, mine didn't crack, Dad. What did you use? Better wood?" And I couldn't really agree to that, because I didn't, in fact. But I started to think about this, and what did I use to create these? Well, I used cut-off pieces from a series of plant holders that I made. I made 16 different plant holders, and one of the things that you have to do is make these cut-off pieces because the plant holders curve. It's not a straight piece of wood. It has not curve but angles to it, and you cut these pieces off. And so what I did is I started to glue some of them together like this, and then I said, well, that's interesting. I could glue a whole bunch of those together like this, and I did, around one of these boards, and I glued them all together like that. But the difference is that for this one, I took wood that had been in my shop for some period of time and very slowly glued chunks of the cutting board together, not all at once. For this one, I used the same type of wood, but that wood had not been in my shop for a while. I had just pre-surfaced it with a surfacing machine or planer, and the wood was relatively new to the shop. It hadn't acclimated in the shop. So the humidity dropped, and this is caused by moisture-driven wood movement. If you look at a board, any kind of a board, and this is a grain running this way, what happens is the wood will expand in this direction. It also expands in this direction, but not along the axis. Well, you can imagine, all of these are tangential. In other words, tangential is this direction, all the way around the periphery of that cutting board. So if you think about it, you've got a board, I measured these, they're approximately 32 inches around, that's like this. And if that were on a table, you would make accommodation for wood to move just slightly. Maybe over 32 inches, it would move, an eighth of an inch or something like that. Especially if it was inside a house, then it's not going to move that much because the humidity in a house doesn't vary that much. But if it's ever put outside and stays outside for a while, then you got more of a problem. So the wood that hadn't accumulated acclimated in the shop, combined with the fact that I just milled it, allowed this to dry when it went to my daughter's house, and therefore it cracked. Now, one of the ways that you can check for this and see if things are ready to be used is use what's called a moisture meter. And that's a simple device with a couple of prongs, and it measures the moisture across that was, if you didn't see it, that was 6.0. That's very dry wood. And this paddle was brought to a house that had a wood stove in it, and it was even drier. So that's what happened. Now, so that's a little bit of forensic woodworking. You can see that you make two things that are almost identical, but in one case the wood had not fully acclimated to the shop and gotten into the same moisture content range as the other one, and hence we have a crack. Now, it's not much. I can fill that with wood filler, probably just very carefully. What I'm going to do is just let it sit for a while and make sure it doesn't expand or contract anymore. But anyway, that was a lesson learned. I know how to apply this to tables and furniture where you must take that into account, but I simply did not even think about the fact that we've got a board 32 inches wide. So a little lesson learned, and I hope this has meaning to you when you think about projects like this, because wood is still alive even though it's been cut from a tree. It still takes moisture in and lets moisture get out of it, and it does in fact make a difference, and you have to take that into account when you build things. So thanks for watching, and hope to see you in the next video.